Hello, my friends. This is the art of prepping. I got thinking a few minutes ago about the things that we do now seem so important, but give it a few days, a few weeks, months, or even years, and what we do now doesn't seem that big of a deal. Now, there are sometimes just moments that we have to make big decisions. And so those are some exceptions that we look back and go, yeah, I made the right choice, or no, I didn't. And you don't know really until you have enough time behind you to get that hindsight. And that's the difficulty about life because you don't really know how you're going to change per se. Now, you can work on yourself to develop a certain progress, but sometimes you're not able to have the insight to know what that's going to be like. Therefore, you wouldn't know what to desire in the future. So it's hard to know what to do in the now. The now is where we trip up, though. It's being in the moment, which is the most difficult part for most people. You know, we talked about this in a previous video, talking about you can't really do anything in the past. It's already happened. You know, the future hasn't happened yet, so that's all wishful thinking or fantasy. But the now is where we have the creative element to actually manifest, to produce, to create our new future. And that's so hard to have that focused attention and intuitive ability to do the things you need to do. Because when you're not a present mind, the present moment keeps slipping away, especially with someone that's always thinking about the future and they're never in the moment to create the future. That's a problem. And so I got thinking about this, looking at future goals on my goal sheet just recently. And I have to say, it's kind of interesting because when I was younger, I wanted to travel a lot more. And now I have no interest in traveling. A lot of people are the opposite. They don't travel at all when they're young. And then when they get older, they just want to be on the road all day. And it's like, I guess it just depends on how you were raised and the experiences you've had up to this moment. But I want to kind of loop this all back around to preparedness. Because preparedness has a lot of the same attributes as someone who is seeking to know themselves and trying to forge a path to their destination. And hopefully that destination is to where they're the most happy. And happiness and preparedness go hand in hand. Okay? Because if you don't have your basic needs met, it's hard to be in the moment when you're suffering. It's almost impossible because you're going to be so much thinking about how to acquire your basic needs and how to meet them that you're not going to think about anything else, and it will bring you down. So during difficult times, it doesn't even have to be any kind of massive disaster or anything like that. It could just be like a lot of our little mini micro personal crisis that we have off and on. And sometimes some people never even know about these things. Maybe even your closest friend doesn't know that you're having a really hard time, maybe at work, and you're thinking about changing jobs, or that you don't like where you live, even though you just built a new house, or maybe that you're having financial problems because that car you just bought was way too much. These are kind of the things that humans do, you know. They ebb and flow. And for some personality types, I do believe that they kind of put themselves purposefully, maybe not consciously, but unconsciously, put themselves in situations that cause themselves a bit of distress. And it's not necessary, you know. There's a lot of people who do that sometimes to get attention, you know, from others, but even to themselves. They want it to focus on always having a problem. And we need to move away from always having a problem. And we need to move to trying to stay in a state of happiness and balance. this is a hard thing to do to begin with. And making bad decisions, like really bad decisions that were based on no real data points, can really get you in trouble. Now, there's a lot of personality types that don't like to look at data points. They don't like to think about all the options, or is this really the best thing to do? They just go with what feels good. I see a lot of people nowadays that are this type of personality type. And they're also known as, in lots of different circles, there's a lot of names. Sometimes they have colors for personality types. But there's an animal that usually is connected to these kinds of people that are all about mostly pleasure and just fun and nothing else. And those are called the dolphins. And dolphins are just the real fun people at the party, that they're in the middle of attention all the time. And they're motivated not by money, but by just physical pleasures, going out and travel, just being out there and just having fun 24/7. That's what they want. But those people, from what I've seen, have the most problems. And of course, there's a lot of people who have a little bit of different types of personalities. So there's not everyone that is a dolphin, for example, is solely a dolphin and they have no other personality types. If you look into personality theory, most people have two very strong attributes of two different types of personalities and a third remnant. But there are people who are more of one than anything else, for sure. Everybody's different, once again. So we typically have several different aspects of different personality types. But there are people who are pretty much mainly or very strongly dolphins, that they don't care about anything that isn't going to be fun. And that's when you start looking into preparedness. These are the people who are going to have the most immediate problem right off the bat. When there's a personal crisis or an outward disaster or conflict with infrastructure, interruption in their daily life. This is a big problem. So you have various types of people that think in different types of ways. And it's something that you have to be aware of, that it's not always the individual trying not to be responsible, is what I found out over time. But it's sometimes those individuals are led by their thinking style because of their personality. And while it's not inherently bad or wrong, it is not the most beneficial type of personality to overcome hardship, is what I'm trying to say in a nice way. Now, I have friends that are dolphins. They are the very lively folks that love to go and have fun all the time. And it's not to say that they don't work hard and they can't do other things, but they're totally alive and focused on the times they can go to the pool, or when they can go on their next vacation, or when they can do their hobby. And as some of them are individuals that live to eat, and we all know people like that. And I'm not pointing fingers. It's just there are sometimes people that are motivated by the physical pleasures. And we all have things that we like to do. So, it's not like it's totally off the wall to enjoy your eating and drinking, or to enjoy a certain type of behavior. But there's a point, though, that it can become a bit addicting. And we all have addictions. I really don't care who you are and even what type of personality type you are. You'll have some type of addiction. Now, some of it is a lot more difficult to decipher than others. Some of it is considered even maybe healthy addictions, if there's a such thing as that. But then there's other people who say, well, exercising every day, that's not too healthy, because of this or that. And then they'll say, what's wrong with being happy just because I want to eat this kind of food all the time, which is not the best for me. But if it makes me happy, so what? And so there's been a lot of conflicts, between personality types that want to push their motivation and their agenda on other people with different types of formats. So over time, though, I think we just have to kind of like concentrate on our own selves, but be aware of how other people are. Because those dolphins, for example, are going to be the most unprepared group of people in society. And when they come knocking on your door, especially if they're your friends and family, just don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. And if you have the means to prepare a little bit for them, do it, because in their personality type, it is like a foreign thing. I mean, it's like talking to an alien when you're talking about getting prepared for things that happen, that like bad storms or maybe power outages and things like that. Things that some of them have experienced, but it's just not a priority. It is really shocking, when I've talked to a few friends recently about this, and it was almost like a complete denial of a reality that they admit is true. It's like, it's a pretty amazing thing to witness. And so the general population, though, is full of dolphins. And I don't know what percent of each personality type exists, in communities, but I do know, though, there's a lot of dolphins, people who are really sidetracked and focused on when they can just have their next outing and have various different types of pleasures, instead of looking at how can we balance the pleasures with being responsible, especially those people who have families. When you have kids and stuff, man, and you're like, if you put yourself in a situation and you're not prepared and you suffer, then your kids are going to suffer too. And that's not right. That's not fair. If you want to sit there and suffer, that's your business. But the kids who don't really have a choice, that don't really have the ability to prepare for themselves, don't make them suffer. That's what probably ticks me off the most. And that's why I do a lot of what I do. Hopefully this trickles down to some dolphins, which very, very few watch my channel, I found out. The dolphins are not into this, obviously. But they'll at least wake up and maybe have enough sense to say, at least for the children, we can be more prepared. And so that's my hope and wish. Thanks for watching.